Hello, all you Shakespeare lovers. I've got my glasses on, so it must be Shakespeare Day. We are, of course, looking at Romeo and Juliet this time, and we are now in Act 1, Scene 3. Overarchingly, Shakespeare is a very good writer, so this is not that long of a scene, but there's a lot packed in here. And in this, the main two things that we learn is that Juliet is told by her mother that Paris is looking for her hand in marriage. And then we also learn the close relationship that Juliet has with her nurse. We would call it a nanny now. But we really find that the nurse really is mom. She's the one that's raising Juliet. It's not really her biological mother, who loves her and is there. But as is true with some very wealthy families, the child rearing is left to the servants. And that will come into play later. The tone of it is both sad in some ways, but also it's kind of a comedic scene. The nurse is a kind of a comedic character. And I can't help but think how much life there is in these early scenes. How much... There's some dirty jokes in here, some fairly dirty jokes, some pretty funny ones. And there's a lot of jokes between Romeo and his friends in these early scenes as well. We'll get to more next week between Benvolio and Romeo. But Shakespeare's really setting up this wonderful, lively community that's about to get rent by death. And I guess you're only going to feel the pain of the death if you understand what's being lost. So in the beginning, Shakespeare kind of fools you into thinking this might be a really fun evening. Like people walking into the theater when this thing was first produced, it is called a tragedy of Romeo and Juliet. They do hear that it's a tragedy, but it lulls you into forgetting that it's going to be a tragedy. It lulls you into thinking that this is just going to be a romance, which it's really not. The mom, Capulet's wife, as she's called in this edition, calls in Juliet and just asks a quick question about how old is Juliet, and making sure that she's 14. She checks. Capulet's wife, the mother, says, "Thou knowest my daughter's of a pretty age." And the nurse says, "Faith, I can tell her age into an hour." And Capulet's wife says she's not 14. And the nurse launches into this huge monologue about why she knows exactly how old Juliet is, and the memory that she had when Juliet was very, very young, and she was playing with the nurse's daughter, who is now dead. So that the speech is both very sad, because of course the nurse is sad for the loss of her daughter all those years ago, but also because it's one of those things that only a parent laughs at, I guess. So Juliet, when she's really small, she trips and gets a big knot on her forehead, and the nurse's husband, who's now dead as well, says to the child, "Oh, dost thou fall upon thy face? Thou wilt fall backward when thou hast more wit." That's a dirty joke. When you have more wit means when you're older. So when you fall backward, you're ready for sex. That's the joke. So the husband makes this dirty joke, and Juliet says, she's sniffling and crying, and she just says, "Yeah." And the nurse, all these years later, just this is one of her favorite stories. Have you ever met a parent that just relays this wonderful, cute story about their child when they were younger, and you're like, yeah, that's okay. It's one of those stories. And she says this, and really, the monologue is like a whole page long. It's a page and a half long. She finally ends, and the mom, Capulet's wife, says, enough of this, I pray thee hold thy peace, which is, please shut up now. And the nurse goes back to it for another little monologue, and she repeats the whole thing, but only shorter. And so, in a very funny way, you can tell that that's the parent. The nurse is the parent, because she's the only one that's enraptured by this memory. The actual mother's like, oh, whatever. And so that's an important thing to clock. And they tell, Capulet's wife says, tell me, daughter Juliet, how stands your disposition to be married? Juliet says, it is an honor that I dream not of. And I just love her response of that. And the mother says, well, think of marriage now. Younger than you here in Verona, ladies of esteem are made already mothers. By my count, I was your mother much upon these years that you are now a maid. Thus, then, in brief, the valiant Paris seeks you for his love. Now, it's impossible that that the mom was a mother at like 11. So I think it's pretty obvious that the mother is lying about her age. But she's trying to talk Juliet into marrying very young. And the nurse loves Paris is quite a catch, they think. The nurse says, a man, young lady, such a man as all the world, why, he's a man of wax, which is like so perfect, he looks like an artist created him out of wax. And Capulet's wife, the mom, goes into a long, wonderful monologue about how everyone knows Paris is a catch, but like a fish is how does it put here? As the sea enfolds the fish, and the cover enfolds the book, so you shall enfold Paris in your arms, enhancing your good qualities by sharing his. So he's the book, and he's got, again, this is kind of sexist, frankly. He's the book, and he's got good stuff going on the outside, and also the inside of him is wonderful as well. But you're going to cover him with your arms, and everyone knows that a great book with a great cover, everyone thinks they're both, it's one thing, and you will be enlarged by this. And she ends this speech by saying, so shall you share all that he doth possess, by having him, making yourself no less. And the nurse says, no less, nay, bigger. Women grow by men. Growing by pregnancy. So that's another sex joke in here. And this is also very interesting. The mother says again, speak briefly. Can you like of Paris's love? She says to Juliet. Juliet responds this way. I'll look to like, if looking liking move, but no more deep will I endart mine eye than your consent gives strength to make it fly. So she is saying, yeah, I'll look at him seriously as a mate, if you say so, but I won't look at him more seriously than you think is wise. Now, I find that very interesting because Juliet's journey is toward ultimate rebellion against her parents, who are insane because of their hatred for the Montagues. The whole world's insane. And she is going to do the biggest act of rebellion, which is to date a Montague. And so the end of her journey is rebellion and all of the chaos that that's going to create. So the beginning of it is really, she's not rebellious at all. She's quite compliant to her mother's will. I mean, like, as compliant as you can possibly imagine. So that her journey is not just of a teenager who is likely to rebel against her parents because she's a teenager. She rebels because her parents are crazy. So the play is an indictment of the parents, an indictment of the whole society, not just about some teenager that wants to say F you to her mom. So she starts as a very good girl, and we're going to watch her later in the play become quite a revolutionary and pay the price. That's it for today, and we'll go on to the next scene next week. Have a good week. Bye.